free-for-all. Weapons free. Light him up, Sentinel.
You could have spawned me anywhere, but you choose to spawn me there. Seems legit. Anyways, so the next Call of Duty approaches, and a question that came up was supply drops and weapon variants and whether they should remain in future games. Personally, I'm of the opinion that they should not be in the game, at least not in its current form. In regards to weapon variants, I was very resistant to the change because I felt that Call of Duty was about learning the maps, learning the strengths and weaknesses of each weapon, and then using it to your advantage, making the emphasis on your skill as a player and less about other elements. At first, I didn't believe that weapon variants would offer this and would make you have to account for far too many variables while playing, but over time I realized that a lot of the variants aren't particularly great. Like any other game, the community will naturally gravitate towards better weapons and variants. It's it's fine if all the weapons are balanced and or are fun to use, but since day one and even nowadays to some extent, the scene is dominated by the BAL 27 and the ASM-1. Even the best variant of weapons like the AMR-9 and the Atlas 45 pistol don't get seen because they just cannot compete. What it has done though is it's given a lot of the weapons a fighting chance. For example, the base ARX is considered a very poor weapon and you'd never see it being used. However, the hole puncher and the steel bite variant have changed that. And while it has made certain weapons feared on the battlefield, such as the Obsidian Steed and the Magnitude, it also makes it a difficult balancing act. After all, what do you do when the base weapon is fine, but one of the variants is just that little bit too overpowered? Or even when some of the base weapons properties are changed, which has the consequence of now having some of the variants which now aren't useful for the role that they were actually designed to do. All in all, I'd say weapon variants aren't such a bad idea, as it does give you more choice. However, we shouldn't be fooled as at the same time it didn't feel as if there were a lot of base weapons to choose from, and that the variants were just simply masking that fact. One possible idea would be to allow players to make certain modifications to the weapon so that they could choose to increase attributes like the aim down sights time while sacrificing the recoil or the damage, not too dissimilar to attachment, but to give players a bit more customization over their weapons and reinforce the idea that this is your rifle, and while there are others like it, this one is yours. Make it a weapon that's suitable for your needs. Now, let's talk about how we get these weapon variants in the first place. The supply drop system in Advanced Warfare, quite frankly, is a terrible system. That's what I felt since day one, and the fact that you get weapons via a lottery system is stupid. But let's not criticize the system without coming up with a solution. Let's deconstruct to reconstruct. Most importantly, let's make it accessible for everyone and have it make good business sense as well. The best weapons or elite weapons aren't actually received by action on your part, but rather luck. A person with 10 days played may never get a single Obsidian Steed or ASM-1 Speakeasy, whereas someone with 10 minutes may get the both of them, and that just seems demoralizing if anything. It also kills the prestige of it being the best weapon and overrides the whole learning experience for the player. My proposal initially was to have challenges to certain weapons like you would do for attachments. It's already evident in Advanced Warfare, as to receive the ASM-1 Magnitude or the AMR-9 Outlaw, you need 300 killed with the respective weapons. I'm for the idea of weapons being locked behind a challenge because it allows the player to get used to the intricacies of the weapons before they are rewarded with a better version of it. Counterpoint was actually made when I suggested this, and it was that people might be dissuaded from getting these weapons due to the lack of time, or simply just not wanting to do the challenges. And I think something was lost in translation, so I'm going to make it clearer here. The challenges to unlock a weapon would obviously have to be relevant for the weapon itself. Let's take the ARX 160 line for an example. My proposal will see something like the Spoilator requiring 300 kills like it currently does, the Hole Puncher needing something like 1,000 kills, and the Damnation needing maybe 200 headshots, and the Steel Bite requiring 200 hipfire shots. This isn't too dissimilar to how the camo challenges started. The problem with the camo challenges was that the reward didn't really seem proportionate to the task. The numbers needed were quite high for a reward which was ultimately cosmetic, especially when you didn't need such ridiculous numbers in previous games, but I digress. While the numbers I stated initially seem a bit high, the challenges should be set that you can get them by naturally playing like you usually do, but in no way should it ever force you to use something that isn't relevant to the weapon. So no get 500 kills using the Exomute to unlock the ARX 160 Super Light. I'd even feel a bit iffy about being forced to use certain attachments unless it was maybe relevant to the weapon, like getting 500 kills with the threat detection sight while using the Bulldog in order to unlock the Mansi, or the same but with the parabolic microphone on the Lynx to unlock the Kingpin. At least there it makes sense, but of course we still need to cater towards everyone and make money at the same time. So targeted at those that do not have the time to complete these challenges for these weapons, I would implement two ways of unlocking the weapon variant that you'd want. The first being to complete the challenge for, and the second being supply drops, basically what you already have in Advanced Warfare. This gives you the choice of guaranteeing the weapon you want by completing a task, or leaving it to Lady Luck. I would, however, have at least a major cosmetic difference between the two, so while appearances are obviously subjective, make it so that the weapon received via the challenge method looks better than the supply drop version. For example, the challenge ARX 160 Steel Bite would be golden pink and looks really nice, while the supply drop Steel Bite just doesn't look as good with a silver and pink design or something. Just so there is at least a difference, and people who go through the effort of doing the challenge don't feel slighted when someone else gets it via supply drops. This method still encourages the use of buying advanced supply drops, because if a person prefers the supply drop camo, or they just don't want to do the challenge, they can buy them. That's pretty much how I feel about weapon variants and the acquisition of them, and how they should be handled in future games, as it makes it accessible for everyone. The hardcore, the casual, the obsessive, collect them all person, everyone. One thing I will say in regards to supply drops while looking at a money making perspective, I think it would be a really good idea to reinforce the idea that this is your rifle, there are many others like it, but this one is yours, as I mentioned earlier, and go overboard with the camo available. Make hundreds and hundreds of different camo for the weapon, and I'm talking hundreds, non-DLC of course. Heck, even include clothing such as shirts and helmets if you want, and have a large number of them accessible via supply drops. People again will pay for that stuff in the form of advanced supply drops. I suppose a downside to having a huge library of clothing and weapon camo might put a strain on the system with all the potential combinations a character can have, but Advanced Warfare seemed to run just fine. Not brilliant, but I feel it's definitely an idea worth considering if they can work out the logistics of it. Personally, I don't care for customization except maybe gun camo if it looks nice, as it's cosmetic. And aside from your guns and your wrists, you don't even see your character while playing, so camo makes little difference between getting a 2 kill streak or a 15 kill streak, but a lot of people care about that sort of stuff, so it'd be remiss to not exploit that when there is money to be made. Of course, we'll have to wait and see what the next Call of Duty has up its sleeve. Usually they try to improve the system, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. The important thing is to find what does work and expand on it while refining what doesn't into something more workable, and to not break or ruin the system at the same time. Anyway, that is about it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it and it sparked off some thoughts of your own. Take care of yourself and keep being you.
Friendly missile strikes inbound. Enemy UAV online. Nice work, Sentinel.